as interest in hockey started to boom in the 1960s. So did the money. Television deals were getting more lucrative. Players went from making $10,000 per year to signing $250,000 contracts, which was among the top professional leagues in the world. And as a result of all this newfound revenue from increased fandom, on top of competition from the WHA, the NHL would see exponential growth, going from 6 teams in the late 60s to 21 teams by the late 80s. However, these expansion teams were horrendous, as they were basically minor league teams, going against rosters that had Wayne freaking Gretzky. Thus, back in 2017, where the league is now worth billions, with the B, billions, expansion team formation had to drastically change for investors to pay $500 million for a franchise, as teams went from being able to protect 15 players and 2 goalies in a time period where expansion was already happening rapidly, meaning there was zero chance the team drafts a top 6 player, as a team like the Ottawa Senators won a grand total of 10 games in their inaugural season. Brutal. So leading into the 2017 expansion draft, NHL teams were able to protect A, 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie, or B, 8 skaters and 1 goalie. And back in 2017, where teams were struggling to be cap compliant, the Vegas Golden Knights would slam dunk on the entire league, acquiring franchise pieces in Riley Smith, Shea Theodore, oh my god, Alex Tuck, trading up from pick 17 to 13, drafting Nick Suzuki, all in return for expansion draft considerations. And I don't know if it was luck, or perhaps George McPhee is a genius, but this team was the definition of individual breakout seasons, as players like William Karlsson, among many others, went from a 6-goal season to 43 goals on the Vegas Golden Knights. And with that, Vegas would become the most successful expansion team in NHL history, starting the season 8-1, finishing with a 51-win season. You know, just an entire 41 more wins than the Ottawa Senators. And most importantly, this team would make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, an incredible feat, but would be slain by Ovechkin and the Caps. And with all this success, surpassing even the most optimistic Vegas fans, there was, however, major foreshadowing, highlighting the impending doom. Because before this tremendous playoff run, the Golden Knights would make an extremely sus trade, as they would send a first, a second, and a third to the Red Wings for Thomas Tatar. And this trade ended up being horrible, as Tatar provided virtually zero impact and was even healthy scratched for the majority of the playoffs. Yes, it was admirable that they were going all in, and yes, this is a hindsight is 2020 situation, but this trade was extremely risky when it was made. No matter how you slice it, the next season, they would make a massive splash, trading Nick Suzuki, Thomas Tatar in a second for Max Pacioretty, demonstrating that they were all in on this current roster. The following deadline, they would make an even bigger deal, acquiring star winger Mark Stone in return for Eric Brandstrom, a second, and Oscar Lindberg. They would then trade away 2 seconds for Alec Martinez, doubling down on their championship window. But this season would end in disappointment, as they would be eliminated in the first round. And then the first domino would fall. The next season, more cracks would begin to show, as the Knights would shockingly fire Gerard Gallant, the one that coached this team to the Stanley Cup Finals, and replace him mid-season with Peter DeBoer, who they reportedly wanted as head coach in the first place. Okay, I guess they would acquire Robin Lehner, which would soon cause a massive rift between Marc-Andre Fleury and Lehner, more specifically Fleury's agent, who caused a lot of drama, specifically on Twitter, after posting this overly dramatic photo. But hey, this team still saw success, as they would make a conference finals appearance, showing they still had it within them to be a championship caliber team. The next offseason, they would ship out Paul Stastny 1 year into his 3-year contract. They would then trade away Nate Schmidt for a 3rd round pick who they had also just signed to a 6-year contract. And this is one of those trades that may not seem significant on paper, but this one was infuriating, as not only was Nate Schmidt a great defenseman in Vegas, but he was a fan favorite, but instrumental to the locker room and culture of the team, as he was described as the glue guy that held the room together, which was a slap in the face to the players. But okay, it's just a business. And they'd use this cap space to sign Alex Pietrangelo, who had just won the Stanley Cup as captain of the St. Louis Blues, to a 7-year, $61.6 million contract, which was a great addition, don't get me wrong. But for a player who was nearly 31, going to be turning 37, 38 by the end of this contract, and has already seen regression thus far in Vegas, this was an all-in signing that will most likely have dire consequences in the future. They would shockingly trade Cody Glass for Nolan Patrick, who had just taken off nearly 2 years due to a migraine disorder. And then it would happen. The Vegas Golden Knights would set a record, as they would become the first team in history to trade away a goalie who just won the Vezina for being the league's best goaltender in Marc-Andre Fleury to the Blackhawks for nothing. Literally nothing. Well, they got back an ECHL player, as not only did this trade occur right after winning the Vezina, but Marc-Andre Fleury was the face of the franchise, the backbone of their team, who was instrumental in all of this team's success, traded for nothing. And no, we are not done here, because several months later, the Vegas Golden Knights would put an end to the Jack Eichel drama, as they would trade Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, the last of their prospect pool, a 2023 second, and a 2022 first, which turned out to be a grade A prospect in Noah Ostlund. But they did acquire a superstar player. Yet, they would miss the playoffs in its entirety this season, which leads to the latest and final cherry on the cake. The Vegas Golden Knights would trade Max Pacioretty, the one they basically traded a first, 2 seconds, a third, Nick Suzuki, and Tatar, and they would trade Patches, a guaranteed 30-goal scorer, to Carolina for, drumroll, future considerations, everybody. And I know I just rattled off many trades here, so let's look at this final trade picture. Gross. Disgusting. Vegas is on some Peter Chiarelli shit. And you know how they just fired Gallant, who took them to the finals, and replaced them with DeBoer? Well, they would fire DeBoer as well. My God. And at this point, this once beloved, exciting underdog team is an absolute shambles, as they not only traded away all of their future just to lose those players anyways, but they have lost all respect, as they took the term "it's just a business" way too literally, as there's been many rumors and reports. Now, do keep in mind rumors that NHL players aren't even considering Vegas because they're unloyal, which you can imagine does carry some truth, because why would a player want to go there when there is a high probability that they get traded? Now, don't get me wrong, this team, as it stands, 100% still has playoff potential. I'm not saying they don't. A healthy Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, a deadly pairing of Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo, but at what cost? As the pure stupidity and incompetence of this organization has led to what I can only describe as a ticking time bomb, waiting for this team to enter the dark ages, as the Vegas Golden Knights went from a team everybody could cheer for, the underdogs, to having such little loyalty, to the extent where it has completely blown up in their faces. I mean, they traded 2 stars and received literally nothing. Like, I cannot wrap my head around this. And again, yes, they have the star power to make the playoffs today, but as history has shown, over and over and over again, team success is ultimately established through the draft. And so with a team that has traded away years of first-round draft picks, with some of them already becoming stars in other franchises, it is going to be fascinating to see what this team looks like in 5 years.